You are live.
Hello, everybody.
Wait, let me.
We are just on I can't see anything.
What can't you see?
Oh, pointing at the wall.
Oh.
All I could see was the wall and a hook. Hello, everybody. I'm going to come join the live and listen to you for a bit. So I'll see you there on YouTube.
Yeah, we're going live. We're live. Come on over. See you soon, babes.
All right, see you there in a minute.
Bye. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome one, welcome all. As you probably just saw, that was lovely Nadia, who I think is going to be in the chat. Welcome to Live with Lee and Friends. I still struggle with the title, but this is our Pride special, okay? And I'm joined once again. Hello, Joe Sweets, happy Pride. Hello, Sarah Story. Hi, Alan. Hey, Claire. I am joined by my lovely friends. Please welcome Craig Allen.
Hey, good evening.
Yes, there's Craig. Can't hear you though, Craig. And there's Kate Winnie.
Hi guys, happy Pride.
So we are going to be, oops, there we go. Welcome to the show. So this is Live with Lee and Friends, and I thought the best way to kick it off is to do it for Pride Day, World Pride Day. Craig, I see you're sporting your rainbow top.
I know, I just wanted to go with something quite subtle. And it says Manchester on it.
And Kate's got the branding behind her. Love.
Love is really love always wins.
And I am wearing my Stonewall in top that I got all the way from New York.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks for joining. We're also live, I should say. We're also broadcasting this live on Facebook. So this is going on over onto my Facebook too. So I think we should get some comments through there. For anyone who doesn't know, this is Craig. Craig is, despite what the top says, he's not in Manchester at the minute. He is all the way in Immingham.
Immingham in northeast Lincolnshire. It's been rainy, sunny today, but yeah, I couldn't find an Immingham one, so Manchester it is.
And Kate, all the way from London, North London.
I am. I mean, I'm happy that the weather's subdued a bit because the heat is not for me. I haven't been enjoying it. Too hot.
So I'm just going to say hello to a few comments. Thanks for all the lovely comments. Happy Pride. Thank you, Danielle. Oh, I need a bit more light, apparently. Do I? Do you think I need more light? Hey, Google, turn my lights on.
Oh, God.
So extra. I can't.
Hold on one sec. Don't amongst yourselves.
Oh, thanks, Margaret. I'll keep smiling for you.
There's so many people tuning in.
I know. Let's see. We've got this Strictly comment again. I feel like it's a sign, guys. Penny's adamant.
Oh, and then lots of people from Lincolnshire. Nikki, Leslie Peart. Hello, Leslie. Happy Pride. Everyone's saying Happy Pride. Boys, happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Happy Pride, guys. Pride Month.
I know.
A special day today.
It's literally the first time in a very long time that I haven't been to a Pride parade.
I know, and I think this year especially is going to be extra weird that, you know, all the way, usually it runs all the way, you know, to August and beyond, and they've been cancelled because of everything going on, but it's going to be a weird one, so it's nice to. So here he goes.
Need to invest in a big light.
I can't sit like this all day.
Can you lean it against something next to the computer so it's highlighting your face?
Yeah. Okay. So I thought we'd kick this off. This will have to do. Here we go. Shine it on your face. Yeah, I will, Joe Sweets. I'm trying to, but I can't balance it. There we go. Wait, there we go. Is that better?
Yeah, I think so.
Send us some comments if that's better. Right, so let's crack on. It's quite weird because for me, I've always associated Pride being in August, end of August. And the reason for that is because I used to live in Manchester, and prides all over the world happen at different days. Yes, I actually used to live in and just selfishly, like, we always had Manchester Pride at the end of August. It was always the bank holiday, and so it always feels a bit weird, me personally, celebrating Pride in June, because I'm like, Pride's not till August, but that's obviously it's a different venue. But I first started going to Pride in I feel like it was 2011, but maybe actually 2010 was my first Manchester Pride that I ever attended. And so that's 10 years. I've just realised now that's 10 years, isn't it?
Gosh, do you feel old?
Yeah, I do feel old
now.
I think my first London Pride was in 2009 when I first moved to London, and I just went to the parade. I didn't go to like any parties afterwards. I just went to see the parade. I think I went on my own and then met some friends there. And then obviously started going to Manchester Pride when I used to visit you guys. I loved it.
So I'm going to kick it off with asking, what does Pride mean to you? Craig, go.
Mine's split into two, really. I think the big thing for me with Pride was that it was a big educational thing to begin with, because it can be overwhelming when you go to a Pride. I mean, I went to Manchester Pride with you for the first time, and you're a little bit like a little lost lamb. But I think one of the big things for me is the history of everything. You know, the fact that we are so lucky these days to be able to live so openly, and to look back and think of all these people that fought for everything that we can do now is incredible. The second half of it for me is a big kind of community thing. It's one of those times of the year where wherever you are, especially whichever Pride you go to, you always bump into people that for some reason you only see at Pride, and it's like a magical thing. It's like you've never seen each other in the year, and then all of a sudden you bump into these people. You have friends come on from all over the country. You know, on Pride weekends, I always remember, like, our other friends, like if Kate wasn't there for one year, she'd always text and say, happy Pride, have a great time. Like, the whole group chat and everything would kind of perk up. So it's a big sense of community for me. It's kind of all getting together. And I think one of the reasons for me why I love Manchester Pride the most is that it ends on a vigil, the HIV/AIDS vigil of the George House Trust. And for me, that's a massive thing, because it kind of brings the whole party in and the whole celebration thing to a kind of very meaningful end. So it's about everything, really. It's a big slice of the pie of different emotions for me. But I think the community and the friendship aspect is like no other. It's like something that you've never felt when you go to a Pride.
What about you, Kate?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I'm coming from an ally point of view, and for me, I just love celebrating my friends that are in the LGBTQIA plus community. The sense of equality for me, I don't see in my head why you two shouldn't have the exact same rights as I do. So whenever I've been, particularly with you two, when we've gone to Manchester Pride, I agree with the community thing. I mean, you know, my mum's joined us before, and she was up there at the front loving a bit of Sophie Anna-Spector back there. Like,
So
the sense of just
great.
the sense of community and acceptance, and it's like overwhelmingly so. I've never gone and had anyone, I don't know, there's just a sense of happiness and of pride. I know that sounds a bit cliche, but there is a real sense of pride. But for me, the word just screams equality. I want you to have the exact same rights as me, particularly when it comes to marriage equality. And it's something that I support wholeheartedly. Yes. We've
had a comment from Laura Lawler, saying, explain Pride, how long has it been happening? Well, the reason World Pride is today, or on this date, is obviously tomorrow is the anniversary of the Stonewall riots, so the Stonewall Inn. So on the 28th of June in the early morning, in the early hours, so actually like probably from tonight going into tomorrow, the Stonewall Inn in New York, there was huge riots because of a police raid on this gay bar in New York, and from there, a year after the Stonewall riots, came the first Pride parade. And obviously then it just goes around every country. Well, not every country, not obviously every country is lucky to have a pride, but most countries, cities, especially in Western countries, will have a pride. So, and then it's just a yearly event. So the reason they're on different dates is pretty much because of different cities. If you all had it on the same day, but different ones happen there. And then Kate, me and Kate went to New York, and I picked up this top. So the Stonewall Inn was a bar, and it was actually owned by the mafia. Loads of, obviously this is in the 60s, so late 60s. It was 1969. And what happened is it was obviously illegal to be gay in New York back then, and in America there was loads of anti-gay laws. And this bar owned by the mafia kind of was known for marginalized groups, transgender people, gay people, you know, a lot of the LGBT plus community all went there, and it's quite a well-known bar for that. And the police raided it. These raids were completely normal back in those days. And there was just a kind of, it wasn't even a planned uprising, which they call it. It wasn't planned, but it was a kind of thing in the kind of, it was just something that kept bubbling up. There was complete kind of, people were getting sick and tired of these anti-gay rules and these anti-gay laws. And I think the police came, and the police were quite brutal with everyone in the bar, and it just turned into a massive kind of spontaneous riot, which then gave birth to the rise of the gay liberation movement, and hence pride and parades. And it's so funny as well, because you know you see riots happening in America weeks ago, and possibly still even happening, and loads of people go, well, what good does rioting do? Well, in this situation it did a hell of a lot of good, because it pushed people to move forward with equality laws, and obviously look how far we've come from them. Let's read some comments.
Someone's asked, what does the I and A mean? So maybe it's a good idea to go through what the letters mean. LGBTQIA+. We have had some letters. I'm not sure when those letters were added on, but it's fairly recent. But the L stands for lesbian, G for gay, B for bisexual, T for transgender. I'm trying to spell it out. LGBTQ for queer, I for intersex, and A for asexual. And then the plus is because nowadays sexuality is very much a scale. So you can be anything. A lot of people are identifying as fluid now.
Well, I used to identify as asexual, didn't I?
I remember you having like this huge discussion about it.
Yeah, but I just think it was because like no one wanted to have sex with me. I just kind of said it. Guys, I'm asexual, not by choice, but I am. I'm not getting with anyone. All right, so Kate and I actually also did a tour around Manchester and beyond about homophobia in school, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, it was I don't know if it was yours as well. It was my first acting job out of drama school. And we were cast by I think your teacher, by the amazing Adam Zane, who's the head of Hive North Theatre. And it was a play called Out Loud. I did it. I ended up doing it 3 times. And it was really interesting. We went into schools and we discussed homophobic language, which I will openly admit this. When I was younger, I definitely used the word gay as a negative. For instance, I'd go, oh, that's well gay. Look at those trainers. They're gay. I didn't do it for very long, but it was definitely, you know, around that age 11, age 12 mark where that was just like the common slang. As I grew up and got a bit more educated, I realized that that's really not okay. And this is what we talked about in the schools, using gay as a negative. Just imagine being a young gay person at school and hearing that word being used to describe something as bad. So it's challenging language. And I think a lot of people, it's not so much used anymore, but a lot of people used to say it like that. I don't know if you two did, but I 100% hold my hands up to it that I definitely said it in that way when I was younger.
Yeah, it's I mean, I just absolutely Kate, I can hear myself back. Have you not got headphones in?
Yes, dear.
Oh. Nadia's put, my girls say boys use the "you're so gay" as a negative all the time. Yeah,
it's such a boy thing. Such a boy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also like it happens a lot. Like whenever I hear someone say it, I genuinely think, God, you're an idiot. Like I just think less of them. I think you must be such an idiot. Like you sound stupid when you say it. But imagine being a young person and hearing it used as a negative when you're struggling with your sexuality in itself. I mean, for me, I used to hear that, but you kind of get used to it. What I used to also really struggle with in school was being asked the question, "Are you gay?" Because I didn't particularly know. I wasn't sure myself. So it's like you were constantly being asked a question that you didn't know the answer to. And that to me was just as difficult as hearing, "Oh my gosh, those shoes are so gay," or whatever. Nadia's put, what do you think is a good way to challenge it to a thick boy? And also, I have to say, girls do use it as well. In fact, sometimes I hear more girls using it than boys. But the education in school was massive. So this TIE show called Out Loud, written by Adam Zane, and it's still going on. This was huge just to make people realize, because they don't understand that they're saying something that is actually mild homophobia. It's kind of just surface level, bubbling over. You don't particularly have, any malice always intended for it. But certainly that needs to happen. We're just catching it in school beforehand and making people realize, because actually it's a habit. Half the time.
Often people don't realize it. So sometimes the best way to deal with it is just call them up and a bit. What exactly do you mean by that? Because they don't realize that they're using that word in a negative connotation. Like they haven't quite fused that together. So by saying, what exactly do you mean by that? Oh, you mean bad? So you're saying gay is bad. It's kind of breaking it down. So they go, oh, actually, no, because I'm not a homophobe. And so I shouldn't use that word. Because actually what I mean is, they're not very nice, even though that's still a horrible thing to say about your friend's shoes. It's not,
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it, actually, because what you're doing is you're not attacking them, because that's where these things, and I think that's what we've seen with the whole Black Lives Matter thing. And challenging racism is the same as, challenging homophobia, is that what we're doing then is we're actually starting a conversation about it rather than accusing someone of being homophobic. You're actually breaking that down, because if you go on a defensive about it, that's when the walls come up and people are not then willing to learn and kind of listen to what you're saying, because they think that they're being labeled as a homophobe, when really all you're trying to do is just explain something to them. So you have to be clever about these things, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting for me, the current climate, what's happening at the minute with the Black Lives Matter movement and what happened with George Floyd. It draws parallels with, often it'll take an individual to spark a kind of national, or in this case, a worldwide outcry. And this one massive individual for the gay rights movement was a guy called Matthew Shepard. And I don't know if anyone has ever heard of Matthew Shepard, but he was a young, openly gay man in the 80s in school, and he was taken. He was basically, cut a very long story short, he was met in a bar with by a couple of people who pretended to be gay, and they offered him a lift home. They became kind of like friendly with each other. They were pretending also to be gay, and they beat him. They tied him to a post, and they left him for dead. They robbed him because of his sexuality, and he died, I think, 3 or 4 days later from his injuries. He was I can't remember how old he was actually. Escaped me. That's terrible. But he was young. He was about.
He was young, yeah.
And he sparked, very similar to the George Floyd situation, worldwide outcry. This kind of behavior and this homophobic attack. The world went, enough is enough, and you know, something needs to be done. So, you know, what I've noticed during the George Floyd incident and everything that's been going on this month is you become hopeful of what it's going to change. Obviously, it's terribly sad, but you become hopeful of how it's going to be, how it's going to bring around change and hopefully equality eventually. But it just wonders how long it's going to take. Michelle Penny, it's not just kids. It happens across society. Often been in conversations with people going, they're acting so gay, that's so gay. Oh, just to let you all know as well, I don't know about you here, Craig, but you're allowed to say that's a bit gay. If you're talking about, like, you know, I would look at Craig's top, for example. I'll go gay, because it's like a rainbow gay top. Or you're allowed to say, oh, he's quite gay. Like, obviously, you don't have to say it judgmentally.
I think it depends on the intent behind it.
Well, when you're using it to describe something that is associated with being gay, that's okay. It's when you substitute it to mean stupid, boring, like, you know, Nadia's put, but that isn't that only if you're gay? Well, no, like I don't think so. And again, it's context. Like, you wouldn't go up to a random person.
I'm not gay, and for me, if it was a stranger in the street, I would never go and be like, oh, you look quite gay, because it's just not something I would do. However, with gay people, openly gay people that I feel comfortable with, for example, Lee and Craig, we have, you know, in jokes, and we can talk quite candidly. So I know they know that no malice is behind it, that I say everything with good intentions. So I do agree. I think it is slightly different if you're not gay yourself. Although I don't think you two would really go up to a complete stranger and just start saying it.
I think it's partly kind of the taking back ownership of things, which I think is why queer again became quite a prominent word back in society, because people decided within the community to take back that word, and actually, instead of it being used as an insult, took it back and took the power back of it, and actually started using it, you know, to as a description of how they describe themselves, which I think is one way that you kind of disarm them from using it as a negative. And I think you see it with a lot of things these days in different cultures. But definitely, I think you always have to be careful. I think there's always a line when you come to these sort of topics. So I think it depends. But yeah, you wouldn't go up to someone in the street and say, even me, like, definitely not, even in this t-shirt.
Out of interest, guys, what were your coming out stories? I guess I'm really intrigued by people's different experiences. Like, what age did you know? And yeah, like, discuss your coming out stories. I mean, I know Lee's. I've been, for those of you who don't know, me and Lee have been friends since we were 4 years old. But Craig, we met when we were like 15, and to be honest, I can't remember it ever being a conversation. It was just you.
Craig, you were already properly gay. You were already verified.
I just received my jazz hands.
Where were you? Oh, actually, no, Craig, you came out to me.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a weird one, because I met you in that kind of crossover point where was in college, and that's when I started having those conversations with friends. But at that point, I'd only met like you and Kate and other people. So I was kind of in a weird limbo with the whole thing, where I probably would have had to kind of tell you at that point. But I think that was probably further down the line when I had told people who I'd gone to school with and things like that. For me, I kind of knew from maybe about 14 or 15. And it was just kind of more the thing of like looking around my school and thinking, oh, I fancy, and they're a boy. And being like, what's this? And then I convinced myself, I was just like, oh, don't worry about it, Craig. You know, what will happen is you'll just grow up, you'll get married and you'll have kids. Like, it's just, don't even think about it. And I kind of
asked if you're married.
No, I'm not married to a man or a woman. And I always thought that was what would just happen naturally. I just thought, oh, this is just a thing. And then somebody else came out in school and said that they fancied me. And then that kind of sparked the question of other people asking me. And when you're trying to process it yourself, that's the worst thing that can happen, like you said, Lee, is that denying it is sometimes worse because it provokes more questions and provokes people to get more involved. Never really had like a bad experience with it. Definitely, I remember watching Big Brother once and having an anxiety attack about it, but I was quite young. And then about the age of 17, there was a lot of people that knew in terms of friends, and someone's parent actually decided to tell my mum and dad as a courtesy because they knew that people were speaking about it. So I remember being called into the living room and my mum was like, I'm just going to ask you this question. I was like, okay. And she was like, are you seeing this boy? And I was like, oh God. But it was kind of that opportunity where I was like, I can't waste this. Like, it's given to me.
Out of interest though, Craig, did you, if someone else told your parents, did you feel like, I don't know, they kind of stole that moment from you? Were you completely okay with it?
I think because I had told friends, it was out in the open, so I was obviously comfortable with it to a degree. And I think I'm actually thankful it kind of happened that way, in all honesty, because it kind of pushed through that barrier. I got over the first hurdle of telling friends. The whole parent thing was obviously going to be much bigger, and actually it kind of forced me to deal with it. And because I was already kind of accepting of it in terms of telling friends, I think it was the kind of, I'm very thankful of it, to be honest.
I just want to, on the subject of parents, I just want to read out Ava's, which I love the name Ava. Sorry, that's so off topic, but I absolutely love the name Ava. Ava has written, my son, he's 15 and trans, has had his clothes stolen from the changing rooms and thrown in the mud, been assaulted, regularly called tranny, has his birth name screamed at him in supermarkets. Awful. Oh, I mean, it's so difficult, and I cannot imagine how hard it is I can imagine how hard it is because we've all been through, well, me and Craig especially have been through something you can't change inherently about yourself, just being a kind of source of ridicule. We have an amazing trans family and support system, our saving grace. That's so good. And I mean, there's so many charities out there at the minute as well. Mermaids are an amazing charity. I'm sure Ava knows it more than I do. I wish we could have probably better representation on here. I mean, we don't, it's just us three, but yeah, Ava, I'm so sorry to hear that. It must be so difficult, but it sounds like he also has an amazing parent in yourself. So
yeah, I also think at the minute, I know there was a march in Manchester on Saturday, but this is a big topic of kind of conversation at the minute, is the whole trans community, because, you know, even though there's a lot of acceptance out there, you know, especially if you're gay or lesbian, I think there's a lot of work that still needs to be done in different areas of that. And I think that's something as a gay person that we need to challenge more. The same with Black Lives Matter. You know, it's about us kind of taking ownership of that and fighting for that and making those voices aware, because I think the trans community at the minute and need more support, and they're not getting the support that they deserve that we've had in, you know, retrospective years. So I think we just need to keep that conversation going, and the more we talk about it, the more we get that word out there, and the more you can educate people on these things.
Nadia's asked a question saying, do you think if you know your child is gay and they haven't told you, that you should ask them? I personally think no. I think you should drop hints as subtly as possible, so that you make a space safe enough for them to tell you. I don't know about you, Craig, but I wouldn't I think if it was my kid, I wouldn't. I mean, it'd probably be different with my kid because you would assume I would be okay with the child being gay. But it is a big thing to tell someone, especially your parents, I imagine. So, do you know, I came out. I talk about this in my. I had to come out to my granddad, my grandma and granddad. I'll tell you the story. I was going home to Grimsby, where I'm from, and I was actually doing a stand-up gig in Grimsby, and with it being Grimsby, it made the local newspaper, the Grimsby Telegraph. I'd been in before when my bike got stolen at the age of 30. Actually, I'd been in twice, when my bike got stolen, and then a few weeks later when I got my bike back. Lee gets the bike back. Yay!
I remember that.
News. Anyway, they put it in the paper saying Lee's coming to do the stand-up gig. So naturally, loads of people in my family got tickets, and my grandma and granddad at the time didn't know I was gay. I was out to pretty much the rest of the family, but they didn't know I was gay, and they bought tickets. So I came home on the day and was like, oh, right, okay, great, you know, going to do this gig, already a bit nervous because it was in front of people that I know and all this, so it's the worst. And then Dad was like, oh, by the way, grandma and granddad have got tickets for tonight. And I was like, what? yeah. And I was like, but they don't know I'm gay, and I'm going to be talking about stuff like that on stage. And Dad goes, yeah, I know, I did think that, but then I just thought maybe you could change your act. And I was like, I can't particularly change it around. So we didn't want, well, I didn't want to go on stage with my grandma and granddad in the audience and start talking about them and basically come out to them on stage. I didn't think that was particularly fair. So we had to, I said, we're going to have to go round and tell my grandma and granddad. So Dad drove us round. It was a bit of a nerve-wracking, and it's just so awkward saying it. Like, it's just, honestly, it's so awkward. And my grandma wasn't in. My grandma was at bingo or somewhere, but my granddad was, and we like constructed this elaborate kind of, right, how we're going to do it. My dad's going to do the setup. I'm going to come out with the reveal. And so my dad, like, we were kind of rehearsing it in the van, and Dad was like, yeah, so I'll say, like, yeah, listen, Dad, Lee's got something to tell you, and he wants to tell you himself. And then I'll be like, I'm coming out. No. But, like, anyway, we went in, and Dad obviously got nervous and was just like, hi, Dad, Lee's got something to tell you. He's gay. Blurted it out to my granddad. But my granddad really quite deaf, and he refused to have a hearing aid, so we had to tell him about 6 times. We were like, hey, totally had to tell him, and
just like yelling at him.
yeah, and no, what happened is he went, he's gay, and my granddad did this thing whenever he didn't hear anything properly, he'd just nod and say, okay. So we went, he's gay, and he went, okay. And it was like, we didn't know whether okay was because he hadn't heard or because he was just like, okay, get out of my house. So I was,
it's called the lynch mob, the pitchforks.
And then he was like, he came out with just the most amazing thing. He was like, doesn't matter. You are who you are. We're not bothered. Doesn't change anything, and we still love you as you are. And I was literally like, amazing. And then he gave me 20 quid. Honestly, well, I think so. It's probably gone up, inflation.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think there'll ever come a time where, so for instance, I never came out as straight. Do you think there'll ever be a time where people like don't have to come out? Do you think that will ever be a thing, or would you like that to be the case?
I don't think it will. One thing that I want to say on this topic, actually, which I think is very different from when we came out, is this whole, like, I watched it yesterday, actually, is this the TikTok coming out challenge, and like YouTube is obviously changed. You've not seen it? They do this. it's a song, and it's like, oh my God, this girl's straight and this girl's not. And then they point at them, but they do it with somebody in the video that doesn't know. So they'd like point to the mum, and then they'd point to them, and then it's to get their reaction. I just find it so bizarre. Like the modern world, it's just me showing my age, but
yeah, we didn't have it that easy, did we, Craig?
Like putting a song on,
we had
a routine would have been so much easier.
Our grandparents down with tell them about 5 times. We didn't have a TikTok dance. Challenges.
I do think attitudes have changed around it, though. For instance, I don't. Again, you guys can give me your opinions, but when people used to come out as gay, it almost was like, and that's it. Whereas now it is so much more open, so much more fluid. You know, it's not like and that's that. That's the rest of my life.
I do think it is still a big thing. I do think it is a big thing. And I'm really conscious these days of people going, oh, it's not, you know, it's not much of a big deal. And it's not. And I know people say that to make people feel better. But I also don't want that to diminish how difficult it is for someone to come out as gay or lesbian or bi or trans. You know, it is a really difficult thing to do. Yeah. And just because everyone else around you is okay with it does not make it any easier.
Well, it's the internal struggle, isn't it?
It does afterwards, but it doesn't. That build-up is huge. I mean, it's huge. I also just hated saying it. I hated saying, like, I'm gay or all this. I've obviously got comfortable with that now, but at the time, even about a year after I came out, you would probably never hear me describing myself as gay. I used to prefer.
And why was that?
I don't know. I just think possibly deep-rooted shame in the word. Like, yeah, I think it must be that where it was. I just didn't like hearing myself say it. Now, I mean, Christ, say it every other sentence. But at the time, I really struggled. I'd love you guys. We've got some comments, actually. Leo, where's Leo? Sorry, they go
up.
I
was just going to say about this one, I think is a really good thing to talk about because
my mum told me. Was it this one?
Yeah, exactly. You've read my mind.
Well, no, I just read the comment. My mum told me she always knew I was gay, which hurt me so much. I was so alone with it. My uncle's gay and my nan read his diary and confronted him. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? I guess going back to my previous answer earlier where it was like, don't ask them. Maybe, you know, maybe Leo's a good example for that, for saying she would have probably liked... Sorry, I'm assuming it's a female. Leo, that's a female name. It's lovely names. Everyone got lovely names.
I thought that.
I feel so inadequate with mine. Leo.
I think the thing about that, which is quite prominent, is a tricky one, is because the probably reason why someone would say, "Oh, I know," is to try and make the other person feel comfortable. Like, oh, I've always accepted you, even though I've already known. But on the flip side of that, it's also a bit of a judgmental thing. Like, oh, I've thought for all these years, and I'm guilty of that. I probably thought it about you, to be honestly. Whereas these days, I absolutely would never say that, even if I thought it.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those. I think it's very similar to being like, told you so. I knew before you. It's like, great that you have the foresight to know. Like, I just don't think it helps.
Well, it's their thing, and you're making it about you. You're kind of taking the shine off them. Well, I know, because you know what I mean. It's kind of taking away the limelight as such.
That's a good point that I'd like to touch on. I think there's been 4 people that have come out to me as the first person they've come out to. And
who?
From your...
Are you allowed to say who?
Well, you... I don't know if you'll remember the first time, before you officially did it in Manchester. Yeah. It was to me and Holly. So you, another friend... and Annabelle, another friend from my past, and then 2 boys at college that I won't name. But so 4 separate people coming out to me. And from your point of view, because I know what I did, but what would you say as an ally, if you're coming out to someone, would you like them to do? For me, it was just always being to listen and to not make it about me and not say, you know, the whole, well, I could see that could be like, there's no, that doesn't help anyone. I was just trying to be really accepting and not rush anything. You know.
When you slapped me across the face and said it's just a phase, you'll get out of it, you could have been a little bit lighter. So, you know, when you, no, I'm joking. Also not making a joke about that. No, I don't know. It's just one of those things, isn't it? Like I'm not thinking back and going, how could have anyone been better? Like, I had it relatively easy. I mean, you just kind of like, okay, that's great. Do you need us to help? Like, what do you need from us? That's kind of all it really is. I mean, the first time I was incredibly drunk, and didn't I climb into a rabbit hutch after that and say, this is where I belong?
No, yeah, basically, it's in a bedroom with me, Holly, and Annabelle, and said it.
Three very attractive young girls in a bedroom.
And said it, and we were like, oh, and then you kind of were still questioning stuff, and we were just like, well, take it at your own pace. And then got very drunk and then climbed to a rabbit hutch, and it was very strange. And then years later, I think when you like officially were ready to like say it, I just got a text being like, just thought I'd say, told my parents I was gay. And then I replied, because he was coming round to my mum's house and my house, and I replied just saying, okay, do you like chicken Kievs? Because we wanted to know what you wanted for tea. That was it. That was like all right, great. Like, for me, it was just like, cool, well, you're still my best friend. Like, literally nothing changed. And that was the same in the other occurrences. It was just kind of like, thank you for telling me. I'm here if you need me. Like, that's it, really.
Henrietta Henson, why does anyone have to say anything? I don't go around saying, oh, by the way, I'm heterosexual, so why do we need to broadcast it? It's a good question. And actually, Leo's replied to it, saying, because this world is a heteronormative society, Henrietta Henson, everyone is assumed straight until they say otherwise. Mic drop. Boom.
said it better than any of us.
No, it's true. And actually, you know, we don't go around broadcasting it all the time. I don't walk past the street, down the street going, I'm gay.
I would hope not. It sounds very erotic.
I'm gay. But I guess you don't need to come out as a heterosexual because you're already assumed to be heterosexual. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, that's an answer to that question. But yeah, I mean, Kate, I'm sure you're one of the easiest people to come out to. I mean, she is kind of an honorary gay man. Actually, Kate, I want to ask, like, because obviously, were you ever teased for like maybe people saying you're a lesbian or something, even though you're not?
Not really. Thing is, I was always very.
Okay, well, that ends that then. Cool.
I was always very open with as in, I can appreciate another woman's beauty. So I've never really questioned my personal sexuality because I never saw it as I'm a lesbian, because for me, I'm attracted to men, but I can also appreciate the beauty of other people. But I never got teased for it. To be honest, I used to spend most of my time around guys. All my friendship groups, other than like a few best girlfriends I've got, but the majority of my friendship groups are mainly men. And also I grew up in the theatre industry, and so it was always kind of second nature. I can't remember a time where I ever asked my mum about it or to explain what gay was. I honestly can't remember ever having that conversation because it was just, I was kind of always around it from a young age. So I just kind of understood it. And it was like, oh yeah, well, he loves him, she loves her. Great. It's, you know.
I'd love to know write in the comments what it means, what pride means to some of you guys in the comments. I'd love to know what it means to them. I mean, I, as I said, I've been going to Pride now for 10 years. I've done London Pride. The main one was Manchester. I used to work Manchester Pride every year, and one of my biggest honours ever was being asked to host the Candlelit Vigil, which is a vigil that takes place after the whole Pride event, and it's for people who have died from HIV and AIDS, and it also now kind of doubles up as a progressive kind of forward thinking. It's very political, and I was homophobically attacked that year. Craig was involved. I
wasn't. Don't make you made me sound like the attacker.
I know, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Hold on.
No. I was homophobically attacked by a guy, and we took him to court, didn't we, Craig? We took him to court.
I had lived in Manchester for 2 weeks at this point. My mum already had a conception of Lee that he was a bad influence, and then I had to ring her up to say that we had the police route to take statements, and then we went to court on your birthday.
On my birthday, I got summoned to court, and I didn't want to go. I was like, oh, and I was doing the show, the TIE, Theatre and Education show, about homophobia, and I was going around schools telling young people that if they see homophobic bullying or anything like that, they need to report it to the teachers. And there was I, who had been spat on twice by a guy, punched in the face, told to get AIDS and die, all this awful stuff. There was I going, oh, I don't want to go and have to report it and have to go to court, the effort. And I remember thinking, how can I ever go into a school again and tell people to report things if I can't do it myself? So we went on my birthday, didn't we? And we got community service. I even got compensation. I think I got £100. Oh my God. Every time I have to either come out or something happens to me, I'm financially better off for it.
Didn't you have to? Didn't you pay? And you questioned it, and they were like, "Oh, he's going to have to pay it in installments." And didn't you get it in like different installments each month?
Yeah. He had to send it in like direct debits because he had hardly any money. I think he paid £5 a month.
The funniest thing about that was, two funny things that happened on that court day was, one, I didn't want the person to see me, so I asked for a screen in the courtroom.
Oh my God, he was so nervous. It was like an episode of fucking Blind Date. He had a screen between him and the guy, and he was like, I don't want to. Anyway, they got us mixed up and gave me the screen and not Craig. So Craig saw him. We've already seen him in the corridor.
Well, I didn't. I was too busy. And then the second funny thing about that day was that we had to wait so long. They don't give you a time. You just have to wait for like the next available slot. They're like, guys, it's time for our lunch break. So we like trundled off, and we decided to go to Panama Hatties at the time in Manchester, which is funnily enough the place where we had been on the night of the attack. And so we had a cocktail, which we got for free, I think, because
it was my birthday.
And then we had to go back to the court. We got in the court, and they were like, on the night in question, what were you drinking at Panama Hatties? And we were both like, a Krakatoa. And they were like, what does that consist of? And it was like, I was like,
smell my breath and have a guess, guys. We don't recommend drinking in court.
No, we don't condone it, but
Ava's put the Vigil heartbreaking. I saw Lee perform them a few years ago. It really stuck with me. Oh, thanks, Ava. Yeah, I mean, it was honestly one of the highlights of my life that I've ever done. It's one of the most moving things. There's thousands of people packed into Sackville Gardens with candles, and there's speeches. And I remember that year I was introduced on stage as an inspiring young man. And I said afterwards, I was introduced as an inspiring young man, but I leave a young man inspired, because the stories and the hope and remembering the fight that people have had to do way before any of us were around to get us to where we are now. And we owe it to them to take that and carry it on with pride. So what I will say is, if you are straight, if you've never been to a pride before, it's not just for gay people, it's not just for LGBT people, it's a celebration of love and everything. So get yourself down there. It's one of the best days out you'll ever do, even if you go and watch the parade, because generally parades you can just go to. I mean, the London parade is always packed, and just join in and enjoy and be open about learning about gay history. You know, even talking to gay people and asking their experiences, not belittling it or not kind of, you know, and we've had a couple of comments where it's like, why should it be an issue? Well, it shouldn't be an issue, but it is an issue. So that's my thing. It's like, it's not going to be an issue if it doesn't need to be. But yeah, standing on the shoulders of giants, Ava Greenall says. My son's best friend in senior school was gay, still is. That was back in the 90s.
Still is.
Still is. Are you checking up on him, Joe? Are you ringing him periodically going, hi?
Still gay?
Still gay. Okay. Just checking if anything's changed.
Oh, that's cute.
I hope the guy doesn't have to do anything like that again after having payout. It means, Katie Pierre, pride means the right to be who you are without judgment.
Absolutely.
Very good. Very good.
And there's loads of different places that do pride now. A few people said they've never been. Obviously, all the big cities do it. A lot of small towns do. Grimsby do it now. Grimsby has gay pride. Both me and Lee used to host Disney Pride. So if you want a little Disney holiday, they now do pride. It's, you know, it's such a great thing to get involved with, because it's really lovely to show support or to just be proud as a gay person.
Laura Lawler, my son told me he's fluid. Explain. Well, it's difficult, isn't it? Because fluid, from what I know, and I just think it's kind of he or they, what I probably should say, I think fluid is more, I don't know whether they're talking sexually or in terms of gender. If it's sexually fluid, it's probably just they don't have a preference. If it's gender fluid, they don't kind of see gender as a construct.
I know. I once had a friend who was fluid, and he described it as, when I fall in love, I will fall in love with the person and not with their gender. And for me, that was the perfect way to sum it up. It was like, I don't know who I'm going to fall in love with, but it won't matter whether they're male, female, or gender fluid. He was just like, I'll just fall in love with the person they are. So I think that's a good explanation of fluidity within their sexuality.
Yeah, gay pride, Disney Pride, yeah. It's called Magical Pride, excuse me. And I used to host it for about 4 years, actually. We used to go to Disneyland Paris. And one time they gave us the park late at night, privately to ourselves.
So I've actually got a YouTube video of it, of us doing Magical Pride. Yeah, and we had the park.
I'll post the link to that underneath on the bio. But yeah, so we went, and that was that the year that you remember Moana had just come out, and I didn't know. I'm not very Disney. I am Disney, but I wasn't like, and there was die-hard Disney people like in the merch, and I was like, oh. It was doing a raffle, and I was like, you win a Blu-ray DVD of Mona. and then I was like, Disney are releasing a film called Mona, and everyone was like, it's Moana, and then like literally nearly like lynched me for getting it wrong.
But it's got even bigger now. Now they do like a full-on parade with Mickey and Minnie in like rainbow-colored suits. But it's really good. If you're a Disney lover, then definitely check it out.
Fluid could mean in terms of attracted, i.e. they like whatever gender they're attracted to. If gender fluid could mean they don't identify as male or female, but on a sliding scale or completely off. Thank you for that comment, Kerry. Explaining it far better than I could. Laura Lawler, he says he has a girlfriend, but he likes boys too. Yeah, I mean, I guess she's also put here that she was sad because it felt like it was a secret. But I wouldn't take that as an offence, because it's not hiding something from you. It's just not being ready to share it, and that isn't always a reflection on you. And you sound like, you know, you're absolutely fine with it. So it's probably just he's like, whatever, don't care. It's not a big deal. I feel like we should have probably had someone on here who could probably give more of a bad experience of coming out, but it's not always bad, is it?
No, I mean it's all dependent on parents sometimes, culture, religion's obviously a big thing. You know, knowing people from different countries where that's just absolutely forbidden brings with that a completely different set of anxiety and questions, really, that we wouldn't be able to answer. But it's situational.
A lot of it's fear of the unknown. Like, I know a few people that came out to their parents, and their parents are now fully accepting, but at the beginning it wasn't that they were angry that they were gay. It was more like a fear, because life is going to be slightly harder being a gay person. And so it's that like, oh, I want them to just go through life and have an easy ride. And I think a lot of the time when parents are faced with it, sometimes there's that initial, oh gosh, that like my life's plan for my child is different to what I thought it was going to be.
Hi, Xander. Xander Gibb, did I come out in Grimsby? No, I didn't. And I always talk about, well, I did, like, but not straight away. I was in Manchester at the time. Manchester was certainly a place which inspired me to be able to do it. I went off to university and I, you know, was meeting, Grimsby's quite a small town, and you didn't know loads of gay people. If you did, it was not particularly great for that. But I always remember when I moved to Manchester, I'd walk past a group of people and I would brace myself to have something gay shouted at me, or cars driving past usually get like, Bender or gay boy, like on a regular basis. This was back in Grimsby, not so much anymore, but this was years ago. And I remember moving to Salford and Manchester and walking past a group of teenage boys, for example, and being like, guys, do you want to shout at me? Do you want to call me a faggot? Like, do you want to do that? Because that's what I'm used to. And it was so weird to not have that all the time. Like, people just was like, so it was, I remember, and I'm making a joke about it there, but I honestly do remember genuinely being like, what's going on here? And then I remember also getting so used to being in Manchester that when I remember once getting off the train at Grimsby, and within less than a minute, someone shouting gay boy at me. And that is not even a lie. And I mean, it was my mum picking me up, but no. No,
I was waiting.
But genuinely, like, I was like, it's so odd. So that's why it's great that Grimsby has things like Pride. Richard Packer. Hi, Richard Packer. Lovely friend. Hi, Richard. I said the other day, I've never met a gay man who hasn't been called queer or faggot or bender before. I have to say, yeah, totally. I agree. I've never met a gay man who hasn't. I don't think so anyway. We all have it. You just learn to get used to it. I feel like I want to end it on a lighter note. You two are like this.
No, well, remember, hey, Pride is a celebration, so you know.
Oh, guys, Jo never finished her comment. I was gonna say her son's friend became a teacher and went to China, and unfortunately, they all lost touch. Oh, well, thanks for that, Jo. Still gay. Well, we'll never know. He might be straight now. We'll never know. Selena Lufog, like to know you three are fab. Oh, Xander Gibb, I came out in Grimsby many moons ago. Back then, the gay scene was a mobile disco in the back of a van.
Oh,
I live in
great.
Cleethorpes now. It seems less homophobic, yet not like London. That just shows how many gay people were in Grimsby, that if the gay bar was a van, that's all they needed size-wise. Come on in, you three. Come on in. One in, one out.
I mean, the way it's going now, that sounds like it should revive that as some sort of...
I did think you'd get that in London.
Lockdown.
It'd be like a members club in London and it'd cost a fortune. They could totally bring that back.
God, let's hire a bus, guys, and do a secret gay bus club.
Yes.
Which celebrity, let's end on this one. This is a good question. And Kate, you can answer this as well. Which celebrity coming out had the biggest impact on you? Well, oops. I have to say,
this is a hard one.
I do think it didn't have a big impact on me, but I do think when Tom Daley came out, that was a big thing for young people because he was quite a role model. I do think that was a big coming out that did wonders for progressing stuff. I'm trying to think who else.
For me, I remember it just being a huge thing in the sporting world again, really, with Tom Daley, but Gareth Thomas, the rugby player. Because there's just this pretense around rugby and football, and it's, lads, and he was so brave with it. And his story since is just been really forthcoming with it, and especially in that realm of sport, it's kind of untalked about. Same with like Premier League footballers. I don't think there's a single out footballer, and he speaks about that quite often. So yeah, for me, Gareth Thomas had a really big impact.
Yeah, I met Gareth not so long ago actually, and we talked about that because Gareth has talked really openly about his HIV status as well. And there'll be stuff on YouTube if anyone wants to have a watch regarding that. But I worked with one of his best friend, a guy called John Hartson. I was doing a gig for Movember, and John Hartson was a footballer who had testicular cancer. And he's Welsh, that's how he knows Gareth. And the way he was talking about his gay friend as a straight man and a footballer, I was like, oh, I love it when straight men in particular like that, who have kind of naturally stereotypical macho, tendencies. And I know that's slightly different, but the Gareth Thomas thing, like the way he just spoke about his friend so openly and so candidly and nicely about him being gay and being inspirational, I loved. What about you, Craig? Who was yours coming out?
I don't know if it was really a celebrity. There's no one that really comes to mind, but I think for me, probably the whole Queer as Folk kind of TV series was something that I used to watch secretly as a kid, well, not as a teenager. Which is a bit like a hidden thing to watch, but I think that was a really big kind of inspiration. And I mean, I think it's still ongoing, really. I think the sports thing is a big thing. I know there's another footballer that came out recently, this week, I think, or last week, who was kind of made headlines. And then there was another guy that's come out as bisexual who was married to an Olympian. I forgot her name now. But he's called Harry Needs, and he's come out as bisexual. So there's a real big conversation about that at the minute as well, because I think that's another thing that kind of gets a lot of stick, and is not as known about as being gay or as being a lesbian. I think there's a lot of kind of stigma that comes with that as well. So I think that's really interesting. But yeah, I think more TV than anything. I don't think I've really looked up to any celebrities, but Queer as Folk, if you haven't seen it, is a massive...
I remember, again, just because you said TV, Hayley, Coronation Street. I remember that being like an enlightened moment as a kid. I mean, we would have been quite young. And that whole storyline, I love Coronation Street anyway. I think they tackle amazing subjects so well. So TV-wise, for me, Hayley Cropper coming out as transgender was...
TV for me was 100% Will and Grace.
Yeah.
100%. That would just... Ava, this is a lovely comment. I just asked my son what pride means for him, and he reminded me that a few years ago he was invited up on the Sackville Garden stage and was given a round of applause by 10,000 people. Made me cry. He said his family grew by 10,000 in an instant. Honestly, if you don't get chance, do go. Obviously, it's not happening this year. Most prides aren't happening, but go to a pride sometimes, or head on YouTube now after this live and have a look at some of the highlights, and especially the candlelit vigil. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined. I thank you, Laura. She's learned so much in this chat. I appreciate your honesty. This is our first proper live with you and friends. Can you
I know.
believe it?
I think
How ironic. We've got 69 people watching. That's my favorite number. Oh, 68 now. So we are going to do regular ones, and they're not always going to be kind of special ones, but we also want you to suggest topics. Now, the topic that I think we're going to do after this is psychics. Can't remember who said it. What was her name?
Yeah.
Was she called Margaret? There was a comment, and I replied to it because I was like, "This is right on my street."
I think it'll be an interesting one because we all have very, very differing opinions on this chat.
So the next one is going to be psychics, but we also want you guys to give us a suggestion as to what we can talk about. A subject. It can be a person. It can be a topic. It can be anything you want, and we will choose which one we're going to do. But the first one we're going to do is psychics. Do showbiz news, the Rooney Vardy story.
Oh, it's so good.
Story. Margaret, it was Margaret Connery. Yes, Margaret.
I love the suggestion.
So give us some more suggestions. Either write them now in the live chat, or pop them down in the comments box below. And if you haven't already, please hit the like and subscribe. Look at the little
It's technical. Look at you.
He's getting tech now. I'm slowly learning how to do different things. I'm not sure on this background. We need like proper borders and stuff. And then obviously, whoa.
I mean, this is too much for me. It's just like, whoa, that's just my face, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah. So night, everyone. Gorgeous Nadia, I think, is going to do a live in another hour. So head on over to Nadia's because I'm going to go and watch that. Laura's a subject. Yes, I love subjects. And any questions that you've got, do put them in the comments box below. We hope we've kind of given a very brief but kind of a bit of an insight into the wonderful and wacky and weird world of the LGBT plus community. Sometimes I say LGBTQ plus, sometimes I say sometimes I just say plus. I think I'm allowed to do that, right?
Yeah, I just struggle with the alphabet as it is. I have to sing it, and so it's a lot, isn't it?
That's a different issue.
Okay, she struggles with the alphabet.
I have to sing it to get the letters.
But guys, one thing, if you really want to watch something that's really informative and very relevant to the whole Black Lives Matter thing, is the Marsha P. Johnson documentary on Netflix. Really, really interested in terms of at the minute, trans women, the whole Black Lives Matter, and the whole topic of today. If you really want something to watch that goes into the whole kind of riots thing, really good program to watch. So head over there. That is all for me.
Oh, nice.
I love that. And for me, I guess, as I said about Disney Pride, I have got a vlog of when Lee presented it a few years ago on my YouTube channel. So feel free to check that out. And Lee, thanks for having us.
And if you want, you can head on over to mine and watch the video, all the things you shouldn't say to a gay man.
There we go.
We love it.
No, thanks for coming, guys. We'll see you. So get your psychic stories ready. I've been to a couple of psychics. Craig has. Have you, Kate?
I've been to the Devon Brown shows.
So no.
And
That's a
no,
no
but he
then.
just no, but he does do stuff like on stage with you. So kind of.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll talk about that in the next one. We're going to be talking about psychics, and we want you guys to suggest comments or topics or people that we can discuss in detail.
Oh, I can't wait for this one.
Craig,
Really excited.
say goodbye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for the love and the comments. But yeah, more suggestions. Thanks.
And
Guys, thank you and happy Pride. Love to everyone.
and happy Pride from me, Lily. Thanks all. Kirsty, that's a no then. I know. I mean, honestly, just a yes or no would have done there, okay. All right. Bye. Happy Pride.
Bye.